What's good, everybody? It's the Real AG here, back at you again on the Lockdown Defense Sports Network. And with the 2025 draft just 21 days away, you guys already know it. I know you can feel it. It's mock draft season, baby. That's right. And here at the Lockdown Defense Sports Network, we're bringing you an exciting series of videos this week where we do full blown mock drafts for each insider's perspective teams. And as you hopefully know by now, if you can't catch any hints, you know I stay repping my Kansas City Chiefs, and that's what we're going to do here today. Looking at who I think the Chiefs should take, in a full 7-round mock draft done on PFF. Again, preface here, there were no trades or any wacky crap like that. Just taking players based on how the board felt with the Kansas City Chiefs' ultimate needs, as we've reviewed in the past here on the network. So let's just get right into it here. So looking at the Chiefs' picks as a whole here, they have 8 picks? Yeah, 8 picks, through the 7 rounds. First, second, 2/3, a fourth, and 3/7, ironically. Looking at their biggest needs, just as a little refresher before we dive into the picks I made, I think, through the free agency and moves that they've made thus far, their most glaring needs are a pass rusher or just more depth off the edge, as well as more depth in the interior of the defensive line. They could certainly use, I think, another young presence in the offensive tackle realm, as well as I think they need to add a young, dynamic playmaker at the running back position just to help Pacheco out with how, the past season went. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's dive into the picks I made. So coming up at number 1 pick, the first round pick 31. Again, there were no trades. I preface that because I do think Kansas City considers maybe moving up or even moving out, depending on how the board falls. But for the purposes of this mock and with the players that were available, I took defensive tackle Derek Harmon out of Oregon. He is 6'5", 313. Pretty much a exact mold of Chris Jones, if you will. Has notable production at Oregon, and I think pretty much showcased that he can be an effective 3-tech D lineman and an efficient pass rusher from the interior of the defensive line at the NFL level. And, I think with spending a first-round pick to add, your heir apparent, if you will, to Chris Jones. And, what better player to learn from a guy like Chris Jones in the twilight of his career than a Derek Harmon who, has the same frame and has showcased some of the same abilities at the college level. So, that is my first round pick for the Kansas City Chiefs in this mock, Derek Harmon, the defensive tackle out of Oregon. So then moving on to the second round pick, we had the Chiefs picking 63 here. I went on. There were some players available. I kind of had to rack around at who I would take, but I ultimately went with adding, I think, to the most apparent need, and that is depth in the D-line room and depth at the edge rusher. And that's why I went with Josiah Stewart here, the edge rusher out of Michigan, coming in at 6'1", 245. Obviously less than ideal measurables for an edge rusher, but I think he has shown more than enough times on tape that, just through his effort and ability to use leverage to his advantage, he has chances to win every rep. And, he has kind of that good first step and good hand technique ability to be an effective pass rusher despite his size. So I think considering that you already have the likes of Karlaftis and players like that off of the edge, like what better way to add some young depth and get a guy like Josiah Stewart who can, learn from some of the traits that those guys use and mold it into the game that he's already developed. So second round pick, edge rusher, again, hitting a position of need for the Chiefs here at pick 63. So then for the third round, pick 66, only 3 picks off of the previous pick I made, as I kind of prefaced, hitting again a position of need. I went with Jonah Savania I think I said that right. Go ahead and fact check me in the comments if you want. But we got offensive tackle out of Arizona. I know I've praised this guy before in my videos. He's absolute mauler at 6'5", 324. And the big thing for me with Jonah here is, he has that offensive line versatility, if you will. He played, I think, roughly 350, 400 snaps between right tackle and guard. And he also played this whole last season at left tackle for Arizona. So, what perfect way to add to your tackle room, but also get a guy that's got experience on the interior of the offensive line, just to give you some more added quality depth. And again, like if they can't work out a deal with Trey Smith, maybe this guy can be your guard in waiting, if you will, and just a perfect pick in my opinion to fill that need in the tackle room, but also kind of give you a little bit more juice, if you will, in the offensive line room. And really, I think Jonah is the perfect type of Brett Veach draft pick with just that versatility that he brings. So again, making sure we emphasize position of need for the Chiefs here at pick 66. And then moving on to our second third round pick at pick 95, kind of finalizing the making sure we hit all the positions in need. I took Devin Neal, running back out of Kansas. The Mizzou fan in me is a little painful making that pick, but it worked out well with how the board fell here at pick 95. But again, I mean, Neal, it's kind of the perfect type of running back for an Andy Reid offense. Look, like Pacheco got hurt last year. Love Kareem Hunt, but they can't be counting on veteran presence to kind of carry the load, if you will, if Pacheco ends up going down again for injury. And on top of that, he's in the final year of his deal, so they need to make sure that they're adding some young depth in the running back room. And I think Neal brings just that. He also has, a natural playmaking ability and mentality, and he's not. I know he doesn't really give you that blast away speed, if you will, but he has fancy footwork and pretty good vision out of the backfield. I think to be an efficient running back in Andy Reid's offense, as well as bring that pass catching third down prowess that Reid seems to truly value in running back. So again, making sure we hit a position of need and rounding out what the Chiefs needed in the draft here in the first three rounds, which I think is a pretty solid draft all around so far. And then moving on to the fourth round, I don't think it would hurt Kansas City to add some quality depth in the secondary, especially with the injury to Watson last year that kind of made some guys step up. I think kind of made it more known that, hey, should probably look at trying to have a 1C type option, and that's why I took Zy Alexander here at pick 133, the cornerback out of LSU at 6'1", 187. Perfect frame for what Spags likes in his corner. Very lengthy, very athletic. He's a fundamentally sound coverage corner that I think would pair pretty well, across from McDuffie and Watson. And kind of like I said when doing this draft, I ultimately think that Kansas City, by letting Justin Reid walk, are not really making an effort to re-sign him, indicates they're moving Shamari Connor back to safety, which opens up a nickel corner position nonetheless. So I think Zy Alexander is the perfect guy, spend a fourth-round pick on to give you some quality depth there and potentially find your nickel corner to replace Shamari Connor, who I anticipate is moving a little further back in the secondary. And then coming up here, we had a few rounds of waiting through 5 and 6. So we got our trio of seventh rounders here. Who knows if the Chiefs actually use these, but for the purposes of mocking, we're using them. And here at pick 226, I elected to add some more safety depth with the departure of Justin Reid and the anticipated filling of the shoes, if you will, by Shamari Connor. I elected to add Malachi Moore, safety out of Alabama. He's weighing in, 5'11", weighing 196. I think Malachi Moore has the tape to show he could be a sufficient starter at the NFL level. He had great, on-ball production at Alabama. I think has shown he can be a consistent tackler from depth, on the field. and it's not going to blow you away with his athleticism, but has efficient or sufficient athleticism to make plays. So again, just adding to that secondary depth, and getting a quality player here at pick 226. And then for our next pick, this might be a controversial one for people out there, certainly given with how some more recent wide receivers have had some personal issues in Kansas City. But here in pick 251 of the seventh round, I elected to add, a potentially dynamic playmaker with some issues off the field, but in Kyron Lacey, and wide receiver out of LSU. He's at 6'2", 213. I will preface he is dealing with some legal troubles. If you don't know about it, go ahead and Google it. But I mean, he is. With that being said, Lacey is a well-rounded receiver from damn near wide receiver U at this point at LSU. He has shown the ability to win at every level. I think he has pretty surprising, advanced release packages in his route tree, and he has pretty good yard after catch ability. So, if you ask me, legal troubles aside, spending a seventh round pick on a guy like that could potentially bolster your wide receiver room in Kansas City, I'm all for it. And maybe he figures his stuff out and gets out of trouble, and you found a diamond in the rough here in the seventh round. And then to finish things out with the Kansas City Chiefs' last pick in the seventh round at 257, I went with the homegrown talent. That's right. Love the name. Johnny Walker Jr., the edge rusher out of Mizzou. He's at 6'3", 255, and it did pain me, man. Johnny Walker got snubbed from the combine, so a lot of people don't even really know that he's out there. But he, I think, had a pretty solid pro day. Finished his senior year at Mizzou as really one of the best edge defensive linemen in the SEC. I think had 43 total sacks, or sorry, 43 total tackles, 9.5 sacks in his senior year. Captain of the Mizzou defense. And you asked me, I think, he has the longevity, the productive longevity at Mizzou, 9.5 sacks last year. He can get things done off the edge. And what better way to add some more quality depth to your D-line room than to spin pick 257 on a potentially exciting edge rusher who, is not going to be going that far away from where he started off his career at Mizzou. So, I think that rounds things out for Kansas City. Again, addresses all positions of need going into the draft, gives them quality depth across the board, and potentially finds, some diamond in the rough playmakers, if you will, in some of these later round picks. So, here's how PFF graded me. It is what it is. I'm not too mad about the B. They love the Derek Harmon pick. I think they kind of ragged on me for taking Josiah Stewart, but they wanted me to take a linebacker. And as I prefaced, the Chiefs don't really need a linebacker at this point. So, across the board, I think PFF kind of agrees. Some of these are a little bit flyer, shot in the dark type picks. But I think ultimately, if it works out, you're getting quality, youthful depth at positions of need for Kansas City. So yeah, that rounds out my Chiefs full 7-round mock draft. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel below, like this video for my Chiefs fans out there. If you agree or love the picks I made, please let me know. Don't let us know here on YouTube. Let me know it on my socials. If you disagreed or think I'm a total idiot for some of the picks I made, let me know that too, guys. Like I love to hear your thoughts on what we're putting out here. And then as I said, don't be afraid to get at me on socials. You can see the whole squad here. Here's all of our, info on Twitter, our Instagram, or just Twitter for some of us out there. But you can get at me at The Real Givens on X and Instagram. So please don't hesitate to do that. And, as always, you can find our show and our network really across all platforms. And again, fellas and ladies, until next time, hope you enjoyed the mock, and please, let me know your thoughts. Peace.